Good Wednesday afternoon to you. It's 4 o'clock. Time for Sports4CLE. OTAs continue out in Berea. Media availability today, so we will head out a little later in the show and chat with Hayden Grove, who was at the OTAs. We will also talk OTAs before that, but we begin by talking about the HBO Real Sports story last night on Deshaun Watson and the 22 civil suits. Two of the accusers were heard from and spoke for the first time publicly about their civil suits and the allegations against Deshaun Watson. Ashley Solis was the first to file a complaint against Deshaun Watson. She detailed what happened when Watson hired her for a massage.
When Deshaun Watson arrived for his massage appointment, Ashley Solis says her excitement quickly turned to something else, a stark realization that Watson had come for more than just a massage. First, she says, Watson refused the towel she had provided to cover him, insisting on using what she describes as a tiny hand towel instead. Then, after the session began, she says Watson attempted to bare his naked body.
He ends up exposing himself, and I hurried up and covered him with the towel, and he said, "Oh, you don't have to worry about the towel." And I said, "Yes, I do."
So then what happened?
He requested that I work on his abdomen, but the moment I went above his navel, he told me he didn't want me to work there. He wanted me to work lower. He just kept directing me to go lower and don't be scared. You can go in there, like. And I just started really freezing up at this point.
Can you explain that?
Like a wave just took over my body. I felt so hot. I was sweating. It was getting more and more clear that this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I thought the session was going to be.
And soon, Solis says, Watson's actions left no doubt.
As I'm working, he deliberately grabs himself and put his penis on my hand. And I pulled my hand away instantly and I started crying. And I told him that I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore.
And it's important to note that at that point, the session ended. Watson talked and apologized, and they went on amicably after that point in that first meeting. Now, the question that comes to mind that was asked of Ashley Solis is how the grand juries returned a no bill and did not move forward.
Why do you think the grand jury ruled the way it did?
I have absolutely no idea. I don't see how any of those human beings could have sat there in front of me and think what he did was okay.
But Watson's accusers say they were even more stunned after he was acquired by the Cleveland Browns and given a contract worth $230 million, the largest guaranteed deal in the history of the NFL.
It was sick to me.
Why?
I felt like he's being rewarded for bad behavior.
That last young lady was Kayla Hayes. That's the second accuser. There was two of the 22 that spoke. Let's welcome in Jeff Risdon, BrownsWire.com. And Jeff, again, I can't tell people how to feel. I'm trying to present both sides of this. There are now names and faces to two of those 22 accusers. And I get why the accusers and Tony Busby, their legal consultant, would do that.
Absolutely. It does put a more human, recognizable face on the accusations. Deshaun is out there. Everybody knows who Deshaun Watson is. We didn't know who these young ladies were. And we're seeing, now their voices and hearing their own words and their own descriptions of what happened. And that's, obviously they said so in the grand jury, and you can read those if you really want to, but who's going to take the time to really sit through and read all that, But this, and give Soledad O'Brien credit for asking good questions. This was them stating their case to the public. The grand jury didn't necessarily buy what they were selling. Maybe the court of public opinion changes for them. I don't know. I'm glad that they did it. I'm glad that we saw it, and I'm glad that there's more information out there. But like you said, I think most people are pretty dug in on where they're at on Deshaun Watson now. Whether what he did was done, and you know how far it went and what needs to happen with it. And you know, this is just, you know, further exploration down that road that I think we're all ready for a resolution for, quite honestly.
Yeah, and we'll go one other clip just to take a listen. Again, it was Soledad O'Brien doing the interview. Kyla Hayes and her reaction to Deshaun Watson's denials that nothing happened that was inappropriate.
During our interview, I replayed Watson's vehement public denial for Kyla Hayes.
My mom and my aunties didn't raise me that way. Over the course of my life, that's not in my DNA.
You started crying the minute you heard his voice.
It's a lot. It's kind of a constant reminder of what happened. And for him to say he's never did anything to a woman, it's a bold-faced lie.
In response to these claims, Watson's legal team has challenged the accuser's credibility, pointing out that some, including Kyla Hayes, remained in contact with Watson for months after the alleged assaults, in some cases even discussing possible follow-up appointments.
People will look at your interaction after what you're saying was an assault and say, how could it be an assault? Here she is texting with him.
I wasn't sure what he was capable of. He could have physically assaulted me. He could have bashed my business. So I had to protect myself and my business the best way I saw fit. Did I ever see him again after that? No. Did I give him the runaround? Yes.
But Real Sports has obtained court documents that show that 7 other accusers who declined our requests for interviews did, in fact, see Watson for repeat appointments. Watson's attorneys say that others expressed interest in dating the quarterback or openly discussed their plans to get money out of Watson.
And again, Jeff, there wasn't a lot of new information that came out, but it was very well presented, and you saw there were some tough questions. Again, it's about an 18, 19-minute piece, and it was really well done.
It was, and I would encourage people that if you have access to it, go watch it. It is worth your time. It is worth your thought process and what happened with it. But yeah, the points that they brought up there at the end are the primary, you know, thing that people who are supporting Watson latch on to. You know, I'm not a massage therapist. I'm not a woman. I can't make that leap in my head of what's going on there. But it's important to consider at least, you know, all the information. You've done a very good job, Dave, and the show has of presenting both sides of it and letting people try to make up their own minds. And that's where I want to be with it too. You know, yeah. I have my opinions. I don't know, like I wasn't there, but I think we are all ready for a resolution from the NFL. We've already seen the legal resolution, at least the grand jury. The civil cases will get educated at some point, we hope soon, and hopefully we know what's going on with Deshaun as far as the Cleveland Browns go. And you know, it was nice to see him back out on the field, and that's a great segue to getting into the OTAs, because there he was, back doing what he does best.
Well, and so Roger Goodell was asked about the whole Deshaun Watson situation yesterday afternoon at the league meetings. Here is the commissioner of the NFL about the Deshaun Watson situation.
Sorry to disappoint you, but I can't give you a timeline because I think that process will go forward. I think we're nearing the end of the investigative period, and then at some point, as you know, this will be handled by our disciplinary officer. And that will happen hopefully shortly, and then we'll see where that comes out.
So nearing the end of the investigative process, which again, from the NFL standpoint, that means there's going to be some sort of, you know, suspension, or we're going to hold back and suspend them after the civil proceedings.
Right, and the league wants this to get done and resolved one way or the other as quick as possible too. They've got a valuable franchise here that's kind of caught in the lurch between what their decision is going to be. You know, if they're going to suspend him, okay, they need to know that. Their opponents need to know that. The team has to prepare for it, but also that there are gambling interests. We can't ignore that are going to have a say in you know what happens. What happens to Watson is going to impact that. That does directly impact the league. Those people are advertisers now in the league. You can't get away from that. it needs to get done as soon as possible. And I trust and respect Goodell in this. We thought that the investigation, when Watson went to Houston last week and interviewed with the league, with the league's counsel, that it was going to come to a quick resolution. It's a little over a week later. We're still waiting for it. They are at the league meetings. Hopefully there's some pressure and sort of the behind the scenes things that go on at big meetings and conventions. We all know how that goes. The pressure of this to get done and get a resolution, whether it's a 4-game, 6-game, 8-game, or 0-game suspension, everybody needs to know. More specifically, the Cleveland Browns need to know, because it greatly impacts their season.
All right, before we are completely done with this topic for the day, let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about a question about Deshaun Watson.
Yes, I'm calling in regards to Deshaun Watson. If the court said you're not guilty, and I understand these young ladies have grievance with Deshaun, but are you going to really suspend a young man, for having consensual sex with young ladies? Come on, America. That's all I have to say.
Again, we appreciate all of the voicemails. It's important to note the league does this independent of the judicial system. There's a code of conduct, and it is broadly written and vague by design.
Yeah.
So the
yes,
commissioner,
it absolutely is. If you try to decipher exactly what it's going to say, you're going to go in circles, confuse yourself. It is the league's code of conduct, and it doesn't necessarily involve the legal process. Nope. You can be suspended for any number of things. You can be suspended for lying about a drug test. One of Watson's old teammates actually got suspended for 2 games for lying about taking a drug test that he didn't take. It doesn't take a lot to get suspended by the NFL. So, I understand that it would look weird that he would get suspended for a lengthy amount of time if it winds up that, obviously the grand jury's return no verdict, and if the civil cases go in his favor, it will look awkward. But the NFL very much believes in the shield. Roger Goodell, he talks about all the time. He is the protector of the shield. That encompasses things that are outside the realm of law enforcement and are somewhat arbitrary and somewhat specious in how they're educated. I think that's probably the easiest way to describe it, because like you said, it is very broadly written where you can or cannot lean one way or the other on any issue based on kind of how the wind blows that day.
Yeah, it's vaguely written by design. Jeff Risdon and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. We will get to OTAs, media availability. We'll hear from Kevin Stefanski. Get a look at Deshaun Watson on the field, throwing the football around, and Amari Cooper. Straight ahead on Sports4CLE. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Jeff Risdon from BrownsWire.com. OTAs underway, second day out in Berea. Kevin Stefanski talking about the work that he wants to get done this week.
We're going slow. We're building the foundation as we have to do it. We got to take our time. But the guys are getting great reps, and it's great to have these moments. OTAs, you can make great strides. So just great to have this many guys here and working together. So really was a good day. Also, it's great, with COVID non-restrictions, if you will, to have the military out here today. And so we can celebrate them. We have a bunch of people who grew up in military families. Obviously Coach Prefer being a Navy man, so any opportunity we get to celebrate them, we're going to do that. Yesterday, we had athletes from the Special Olympics out here, so it was great to see them. And then tomorrow, we're going to invite some local high school coaches out here. So using these opportunities to highlight people in our community, which is really important. But again, really good day.
And also from Mary Kay Cabot, we take a look at guys that were not here. Again, it's voluntary, not mandatory. But today, David Njoku not there. We'll get a little bit towards him. They're working on a long-term deal with him. Myles Garrett, Joel Bitonio, of course, Baker Mayfield, Jack Conklin as well, not there. But all in all, pretty good attendance for voluntary OTAs, Jeff Risdon, without question.
Yeah, it's nice to see that many people showing up for what are indeed voluntary. The club cannot do anything punitive if they don't show up. The whole concept of the OTAs is sort of, it used to be to get people in shape back when you had to sell cars in the summer when you weren't playing in the off season. That's kind of gone away, and guys come in pretty good shape now. But this is more about install. This is not a full contact physical football practice. This is a walk through speed, but it's great to just get the guys back together, discuss things, see where people are at with their injuries and all that. I didn't expect. Obviously, you don't expect Baker to be there. Njoku, hopefully we're going to get some resolution. I'm going to knock on some wood if I find some here fairly soon. It's great to see that many guys there and hungry to work. Look, again, you don't want to read too much into the attendance, but if there's a lot of people that aren't there, that would raise some eyebrows. And just about everybody that you would expect to be there was there, and that's an important first step. And like he said, it's great that you can get back and have people come in. I personally work closely with the Special Olympics here in West Michigan. For those guys to be able to get out there and take in a Cleveland Browns practice, that's phenomenal. It's great that we're getting back to that sort of normalcy, and I can't tell you how much the young people that are involved in that appreciate that.
Well, the other thing that today is a chance to see Deshaun Watson on the field, playing quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, and wearing that number 4. Looked pretty good as well. All reports, ball's coming out of his hand pretty good. Kevin Stefanski did admit he's going to need to knock some rust off. That's to be expected. Take a look at that, setting up a screen. Go figure. Get the ball in Kareem Hunt's hands. But again, Watson looked the part of the elite quarterback that everybody kind of thought he would be. You're seeing that boot that Stefanski likes. And Donovan Peoples-Jones catching that one. And again, Stefanski had to be thrilled to see just all the work going in there. Kevin Stefanski did talk about what he saw from Deshaun Watson in the first workout.
Deshaun had another good day. I thought it was really sharp yesterday as well. I think all of that work, Mary Kay, matters. I think the work that they do in this building together, the work they do outside the building, it all adds up. It's you've heard me say it before, it's added reps. So he's doing a nice job.
And the other thing, Jeff, is they're working to get that chemistry with the wide receivers, especially Amari Cooper.
Absolutely. And I do think that we as a Browns nation tend to overlook Amari Cooper a little too much. The guy's really, really good, folks. And you're going to really appreciate how good he is, especially with Deshaun throwing him those deep balls. And one of the things that I noticed, well, there's two things I took away from watching Deshaun there. First off, I covered him for the Texans, and it's weird seeing him not in Houston Texans uniform. It's not bad. It's just it was striking right there. It sort of hit me. I'm like, wow, he's not wearing the battle red. So that's unusual. That's going to take a little bit of adjustment time to see him getting used to being in the brown and orange. But the other thing was the quick release is back. And one of the things that Houston fans will tell you is that when Deshaun was struggling, it was because his delivery was a little prolonged. He wasn't necessarily like snapping that ball out. You saw it on that throw to DPJ there. He's getting that ball out real quick. Cocks the arm back and it's gone. And that's good Deshaun. And that's very good to see from a Brown standpoint.
Yeah, without question. The other thing that's kind of interesting is Watson is wearing his number 4. That belonged to Anthony Walker. Walker explains how that happened.
Yeah, Deshaun said he was coming to Cleveland. I texted him 10 seconds later and said, "Welcome to Cleveland, number 4. Appreciate you, man. Hold on. Appreciate that. All right.
You're not going to open it?
No, I'm not. Yeah, so it's a good guy, man. Appreciate that.
And again, that was Watson the first time that he saw him, giving him what appeared to be a Rolex box. And,
yeah,
that's why Walker was like, he didn't have to do that, but he did.
Yeah, and then that's nice. And they know each other. Walker obviously came from the Colts, division rivals from the Texans. They had some good battles in those uniforms, and it's great to see them, just that snap acquaintance like that. Like, yeah, it's real good. I love seeing that. That's one of the great things about the OTAs is that you get to see guys, who come from other situations and how they fit into the team right away. Pretty easy to see that one of the defensive leaders is very openly embracing Deshaun Watson there, quite literally, and that's a good sign. That shows that the locker room's in a good spot. And he didn't need to do the Rolex. Walker obviously.
Yeah.
I like the proactive nature from Walker there about reaching out to him and sort of letting him know that this is number 4. But yeah, that's fun, man. I love that kind of stuff for OTAs. That's one of the great things about this time of year in football is getting to see the personalities under the helmets a little bit. And you saw some of Anthony Walker there and what kind of a guy he is and why the Browns obviously like him a lot.
So the other thing to get used to is this, Deshaun Watson to Amari Cooper. I know it's OTAs, but this is a pretty good look at what you're going to be seeing a lot. That is a ball that's kind of delivered on time, on target to an elite wide receiver, and you see Cooper going through some drills as well. These two are working to get the chemistry going early, and I'm with you, Jeff. I think Browns fans might be underestimating Cooper a little bit. He's going to be the best wide receiver we've seen in quite a while, without question.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that includes number 13 in his ill-fated stay here. Cooper has a very, very high end. And I think you saw it on the very first rep there. One of the things that he does really well is that he'll catch the ball with his hands and he instantly gets the head around and the ball around and is up the field. He does that so well. This offense relies on yards after catch quite a bit. He's really good at it. And the fact that he can go out and reach out and catch the ball away from his body, tuck it away, secure it, take that first contact, and then get up the field. Both he and David Njoku are exceptional at that. You got Deshaun, one of the best pinpoint passers in the league. Not to disparage Baker Mayfield, but I think you're going to realize pretty quickly that Deshaun has a more accurate delivery more consistently than what Baker did. And when you got an upgraded receiver too, my goodness, I'm excited to watch it. I can't wait till they get out there in pads and we see them actually like taking on a live defense. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be different. And again, Browns fans, be ready to be surprised and impressed by Amari Cooper and even if it's the reserve quarterbacks throwing to him. Guy's really, really good, folks.
Jeff Risdon and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we will check in on the latest signing by Andrew Berry, Jadeveon Clowney. We'll see him in action. We'll also hear from some folks about the Clowney signing. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Jeff Risdon and I continue talking Browns organized team activities day 2 out in Berea, and this was probably the most welcome sign of any. Jadeveon Clowney, number 90, back with the Browns and his defensive teammates. Everybody kind of excited. He was signed over the weekend, made it official, signed, and without question, a very welcome addition. Opposite Myles Garrett was Jadeveon Clowney. Anthony Walker talked about having Jadeveon Clowney back as part of the Browns, and the linebacker thrilled to have Jadeveon Clowney back with the Browns.
I texted him about a month ago, and he didn't text me back. So then I saw him, and I was like, I gave him a little look, and he gave me a look, and we left it at that. And then I texted him after he signed back, and he texted me one thing: Super Bowl. That's it. So happy to have him back for sure, to answer both questions.
What does he do for this defense, especially considering the fact last year he said he felt ahead of the curve going into the offseason, that he was healthy? Just what does he bring you guys as a unit?
Yeah, another dynamic pass rusher. At the end of the day, that's the game of football. You want to stop the run, get teams in 3rd and long, and or get a big lead and make teams have to throw the ball. And when you have 2 elite pass rushers on the edge, makes our job a lot easier. So definitely happy to have him, and to go along with Myles. It's a pretty sight to see as a linebacker.
And Jeff, that was needed. They needed Clowney opposite Garrett just to kind of settle things down on that line.
Absolutely. And it was something, look, I think a lot of us really expected it. I know from my standpoint, we wrote that Jadeveon Clowney was signing with the Browns. I actually wrote the shell piece for the draft that we would publish eventually on April 4th. So it's been a long time coming. It never seemed like Clowney ever seriously considered going anywhere else, but it was as a case of, is he going to come back? What's he going to make? And I think between the time that he signed, the fact that he signed before OTAs is interesting, because there were some people that were suspecting that, he just wants to get on his own, do his own thing, come in later after voluntary things are over, after mandatory minicamp possibly, which is coming up in a couple weeks, and he'd wait that out and then sign. The fact that he did that earlier than that says a couple things. It says, A, he really does want to be in Cleveland, and B, he's dialed in. Like he understands the importance of what he's at. He texts Super Bowl. They're not getting there without him. Look, we've talked. Everybody who's been on the show has talked about how big of a need it was to have somebody opposite of Myles Garrett, and they have some candidates, but none of them are Jadeveon Clowney. And what Clowney can do, his ability to play inside, his ability to win with power, his ability to play the run so well and disrupt things on first downs. When the opponent runs and you get 2nd and 12 instead of 2nd and 6. That's such a huge boon for the secondary, and allows them to do so many more things. Like, Clowney doesn't put up the biggest stats. He does so much that goes unnoticed in the box score, and I think the Browns appreciate that, and I think he understands that they appreciate that too, and that's why he's back. I think that's a sign of respect from him, that he did what he did and getting in and being at OTAs this week and getting in before he absolutely had to.
Here's the contract details from Ian Rappaport. 1-year deal worth $11 million, 9.25 guaranteed, $10 million base. Can get an additional $1 million in incentives. You don't think the Browns are happy to have Jadeveon Clowney? Take a listen to Kevin Stefanski talking about re-signing Jadeveon Clowney.
Great to have JD back. He's a very active player, was very productive for us last season. He's very popular in this building, so having him in the meeting room and having him around the building, you felt his energy, and the guys were excited that he was here. I think with free agency and all these things, you stay in constant communication, and you really can't tell when it comes to the marketplace how things are going to go. So I think Andrew and JD's crew stayed in close contact really throughout.
And it also helped Myles Garrett really wanted him back.
It doesn't hurt when the rating or one of the top defensive players and potential defensive MVP says, "Hey, I need you. I want you." That speaks. And Clowney has been through this before. He understands what it's like to play against a dynamic force. He played with J.J. Watt in Houston at Watt's peak, and it made both of them better. And then he went to Seattle, and he didn't really have that, and he didn't do all that well. And I think he understands that he's at the point in his career where if he really wants to win, like, he needs somebody like Myles Garrett on the other side to help him achieve his own personal goals and also the team goals that he's got. So yeah, that's and again, it's a great deal. There are reports that he was offered as much as $14.5 million by some other teams. It tells me that he was pretty intent on coming back to Cleveland the whole time. The money wasn't necessarily the only thing for him. It is a pretty the fact that they guaranteed as much as they did tells me that that's probably where the bargaining took place. You know, okay, we could give you 13.5, but maybe we'll only guarantee 8, or we'll give you the 11 and we'll guarantee 9.5. That's the sort of give and take that happens all the time between representation and the team. And I think they settled on a pretty good figure there. It's a very team friendly deal. I love it. I'm so glad he's back.
Well, one of the guys who was not at OTAs, and again, they're voluntary, David Njoku, and take a look at this. So Mary Kay Cabot tweets out that they're close to a new deal. So he was franchise tagged. Average annual value more than $13 million a year. They franchised him for a little over 11 is I believe the figure that it was. Guarantees are the holdup. Could get done this week. Will likely get done. And again, you can be sure Andrew Berry and the Browns front office trying to figure out how to structure it so that they have maximum flexibility going forward. That's something this front office has been very good with.
Yeah, and this could be a case where you see a void year or two tacked on at the very end of it to spread the cap hit out longer, especially if they guarantee more of it. You know, the percentage of guarantee is something that's become a very big thing. It used to be you just look at the total cash value, and the agents generally got their commission off the total cash value. That's been adjusted a little bit over the last few years since the salary cap changed, and you don't give the number one pick $72 million before he ever plays it down anymore. And I think that's, again, the give and take is on the guaranteed and the bonus and how much of that, how it's structured. I fully expect him to be done. It could be done, honestly, while we're on the air here. I would expect it to get done by the end of this weekend. He's not at OTAs. I've heard on pretty good authority he's actually in Cleveland and may have been in the building. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's close.
We'll have the flashing red Sports4CLE alert signals if it happens.
I'll know what that is when it goes off.
Jeff Risdon and I are going to step aside, take one last time out. Other side of the break, we'll talk a little bit more about OTAs. We will hear from Nick Harris as well as Anthony Walker about Deshaun Watson. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Jeff Risdon from BrownsWire.com. Time to head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one, a question about the NFL and how it kind of hands out its suspensions.
Hi, Steve Lannon. I just was curious how Robert Kraft, owner of the Patriots, in his episode with the massage parlor, how that was punished by the NFL. Thank you. Keep it. It's a great work.
As always, appreciate it. And again, I get where the caller's going with this, Jeff, but it's apples and oranges. I mean, if you were going to suspend an owner, what's it mean? He can't sit in the owner's box? It's different with players. And keep in mind, the 32, you can say Roger Goodell works for whatever you want. He works for the owners, flat out.
He does. Yeah, and the charges in that were dropped, by the way. And they actually had video of him like leaving the massage parlors, so that's a little bit more incriminating direct evidence than what you have against Deshaun. And nothing was done by the league. Again, like you said, what do you do to the owner other than fine them? That's where it really hurts. He's going to miss the game from his box. He can watch it from his yacht or private plane, whatever he wants to do. It's not a big deal for the owner not to be there. It doesn't hurt the team on the field at all. It's. Yeah, I get what it both of them involve massage therapists, but it's a very different situation. Obviously, that was just a one-time thing, or we're led to believe was a one-time thing, anyways. And he was let off on it. So yeah, again, this is where you go back to Deshaun, and if they punish him and he's not found guilty in any court of law, that does look a little bit different because they have done things like Robert Kraft. Obviously, in a situation that is not what you would expect of an owner, or not what you would not becoming of an owner, does it violate the league's policies? Not really. So yeah. I totally get where he's coming from with that, but you kind of need to move on from that.
Yeah, and again, we appreciate all the voicemails, but it's kind of apples and oranges in this instance. Well, Anthony Walker is a guy you had alluded to. He's familiar with Deshaun Watson because he's played against him. He talked about what type of quarterback the Browns are getting.
Obviously playing against him when I was in Indy, 3 out of the 4 years I was there, playing him 6 times. He won't tell you, but I've won more. Yeah, but going against a competitor. A guy that loves the game of football, an elite playmaker, elite quarterback. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot of trash talk during OTAs, during minicamp, and also during training camp. But at the end of the day, we're working toward a common goal, and that's being Super Bowl champs at the end of the year. And we're going to push each other to get there.
How do you think he's dealing with all this other stuff that's swirling around him right now?
Yeah, I think he does a good job coming in every day and, leaving outside and coming in and focusing on football while he's here. I can't speak on anything else, but, I know when he's here, he's locked in. Happy to be back on the field, happy to have him as our quarterback. So he's confident. He looks good throwing the ball. And I know what he does on game day. So.
Yeah, and Jeff, that wins you a lot of points in the locker room, what you do on game day.
Yeah, and one of the things that he talked about there was how much of a playmaker that Deshaun is. And look, we're used to Baker doing some things, a little bit of improvisation. Deshaun does it differently, and Deshaun really loves to. He's very good at picking his spots at when to attack. And you go back and you watch, I forget which season it was, but the first game in Houston between the Texans and the Colts is a great example of it. And I'm sure Anthony Walker remembers that one pretty well. Deshaun has the ability to pull rabbits out of hats that you don't know where the hat is. He's that kind of a guy. He doesn't do necessarily the standard things as well as some of the top quarterbacks, but boy, he can do things outside the structure of a play that few people can, and it's going to be exciting to watch him do that. David Njoku gets in. You're going to have Amari Cooper out there. You got promising young talent in DPJ and Schwartz, who I apparently am the only person in the Cleveland realm who really likes Anthony Schwartz and what he can still offer. I know he had a bad start. You got to cut this guy a little bit of slack. There's potential for him to be a very good receiver, and Deshaun knows how to use that kind of guy very specifically. And I think that's something to get excited about too.
Yeah, and again, he's got to stay healthy and get on the field, and if he does, I think the rest will probably take care of itself. One of the guys that's going to get an opportunity to play a pretty significant role, Nick Harris, has the opportunity to be the starting center. He talked about that at the media availability today.
Nothing different personally for me, but it's good to get back out here and start running plays and get that cohesiveness in the unit.
You played, but not a ton. How have you improved in the last 2 years since you got there?
Yeah, I think it's just the amount of reps I get in practice. Playing behind JC, I learned a lot. He's a veteran center. I personally think one of the better centers in the NFL. So playing behind him, learning how he is in the meeting room, learning how he, his tricks and his tools that he's learned over his career, helped me tremendously. And then just like you mentioned, the amount of reps that I've taken, against top-tier talent out here on defense, it's helped me tremendously. And then, getting those couple games that I have played, playing against Green Bay, that it made me feel like I belong, and it felt good to be playing center and getting out there and doing what I do.
So Jeff, let me ask you this: how good is this roster?
They're loaded. There is no reason why this team shouldn't be back where they were in 2020. competing for a berth in the AFC Championship game. Obviously, some things have to come together. You've got to have good health. You've got to have your good players play their best. And Nick Harris, if you're going to have questions about the team, he's one of them. He hasn't proven himself as an NFL center just yet. I support the fact that they let JC go. I think it was the right move, but it is a bit of a risk. Harris is unproven. When we first saw him a couple years ago, he clearly wasn't ready. And it wasn't necessarily a case of him not being mentally ready. He's a very sharp guy. If you just watched him talk, you can tell he's got it going on upstairs. It was the physical part of the job that he wasn't quite ready for. Hopefully he's ready for that because, look, teams are going to find ways to attack your weak point. One of the things that JC was great at, and Nick alluded to it, JC might not have been the most talented guy, but, man, he knew every trick in the book and got away with them a lot. He might have gotten away with more holding than any offensive lineman in the league the last couple of seasons. They're probably not going to give that kind of credit to Nick Harris, so it's going to be a little bit of a battle for him. I think we have to understand that there will be some growing pains and adjustment pains to having Nick Harris as your center. I do like him. I think he's going to be a decent player, but if you're looking at places where the Browns are questionable, center's one of them.
Jeff Risdon from BrownsWire.com, as always, man. Thanks so much for the time and the insight. Appreciate it very much, Jeff.
All right, thanks so much for having me.
All right, Jeff Risdon. Make sure you read him in BrownsWire.com. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. We continue talking Browns. We will check in with Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. He was out at OTAs. We'll get his impressions. Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to Go Forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams, I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns, day 2 of organized team activities out in Berea. Let's welcome in Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. Hayden was out in Berea for the OTAs, for the availability there. Hayden, biggest takeaway, what when you sit there and watch the Browns go through their drills, what jumps out at you?
I mean, for me, it's Deshaun Watson. The crispness, the easiness, it's another level. And I'm not saying Baker Mayfield, again, you know how much I like Baker Mayfield. I thought he was a perfect fit for Cleveland. But Deshaun Watson has a different level of arm talent, a different level of ability. That's the thing that I take away first and foremost, is just that the ball comes out of his hand differently. Baker Mayfield, had it, and it's different styles of different players. Baker Mayfield put everything that he had behind the football, and that's how he's able to force or to drive the football down the field. But Deshaun Watson, it's effortless, it's easy. He just has a really, really, really talented right arm, and it's probably the most talent we've seen in Berea ever for a quarterback.
the release is what, we had Jeff Risdon on, who covered Watson in Houston for a number of years with the Texans before he came to Browns Wire. He mentioned a quick release. Did you see that? He said the ball just gets out and it's on the receiver.
Yeah, I mean, it's a super quick release and it's a super clean release. It's precise, it's pristine, it's beautiful. I mean, it's quite frankly beautiful. And that doesn't necessarily always mean that it's going to be going to the right place at the right time. But yeah, I mean, in a practice when you're only having shirts and shorts on, I mean, it's impressive. It's impressive to watch. So the ball's placed really, 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 really well all the time, and I can't wait to see more of it.
What about Amari Cooper? So did you see those two kind of working out, trying to get on the same page and trying to develop some chemistry that they're going to need?
Yeah, they're not there yet. There was a couple missed throws today, specifically from Deshaun to Amari. They're still trying to find it. I mean, again, they've only been working together for a couple months now, so I'm not worried about it at all. But they're not completely there yet. I think Deshaun's got to learn him a little bit. I think, Amari's got to learn Deshaun a little bit. So they got plenty of time. That's what organized team activities are for this opportunity to get together, for the chance to work together, for the chance to continue to get to grow on the field, off the field, to learn about your teteammates. So yeah, I would say that they're going to be fine. And Amari Cooper looked good. Again, he's a very talented route runner. He's not Jarvis Landry. He's not Odell Beckham Jr. In that those guys are they're different. They're special. And I think Amari's special, but maybe in a more understated way. He kind of just blends in, whereas Jarvis and Odell stood out. So it's definitely a different feel for Amari Cooper than what we've seen in Cleveland before. But I think he's going to be a really good target for Deshaun Watson.
Who are some guys that stood out that kind of grabbed your attention? You kind of went, were there any guys that you kind of like, that guy can play a little bit?
Yeah, there was receiver Isaiah Weston made a really, really spectacular catch today. I mean, Deshaun kind of threw it behind him, or not behind him, but over his other shoulder, and he turned around and used one hand and made like an Odell Beckham Jr. catch. It was amazing. Other than that, I think Jerome Ford stood out to me. Not so much that, again, these guys are in shorts and T-shirts. They're not doing a lot, but Jerome Ford looks the part of a really good running back. I'm not, that doesn't always equate to anything, but I think Jerome Ford looks the part, and I can see why the Browns went after him. I mean, he looks the part of a really good NFL running back. So I think those two guys specifically today stood out to me.
Yeah, and Weston is the undrafted rookie free agent wide receiver out of northern Iowa that a lot of people think has a legitimate chance to earn a spot. I know it's still early in the process. Do you think this offense could be a little bit different? Well, could you see some of the different elements of it?
Yeah, that was my biggest takeaway from today, was that the offense looked completely different, honestly. Yes, Kevin Stefanski right now is more focused on Kevin Stefanski's offense is not necessarily always north-south, right? It's not about just getting the ball down the field as quickly as possible. It's more so, it's really nuanced, and it's about east and west. And I saw today a little bit of that, but I saw more so in the backfield. You saw a little bit of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. We didn't see that much at all last year. You saw a lot of option football where, Deshaun Watson has options to either hand it off to take it himself, or to throw a screen, or even guys throw it over the top, over the middle. I mean, it's just, I think this offense is going to be so multiple, and I'm really happy with Kevin Stefanski in that, I think this offense last year was boring. It was stale. It was vanilla. And maybe that had to do with Baker's injury, and I understand that, and that makes sense. But I'm very happy with what I saw at day one, because I think that he needed to take the offense under the knife, completely, recalibrate it, do everything he could to make it different. And I think that they're going to use Deshaun's strengths as a runner. They're going to use Deshaun's strengths as a playmaker. They're going to use Nick Chubb's strengths as a runner. They're going to use Kareem Hunt's strengths out of the backfield. They're going to use the strengths of their team, and that's exactly what they should do. So I was really impressed with just the multiple looks and the multiple options that Deshaun has in the pocket and in the shotgun.
Well, one of the guys that will be counted on by all accounts is Nick Harris, a guy that was the backup who is slated to be the starting center with J.C. Tretter gone. He talked about the confidence the Browns have shown in him today.
I come here every day just trying to get better. You know, I'm just trying to battle myself every day, compete with myself. You know, in the practice reps that we got one of the best offensive line coaches in the game. So I think he's helped me tremendously with my game. So, you know, whatever's presented to me, I think I'm ready for the opportunity. And I'm just excited to get the whole unit cohesive and just get rolling.
And, you know, Hayden, the one thing I would say, people that are concerned about Nick Harris, keep in mind he's been working with Bill Callahan for a couple of years. And I think that's why Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski were comfortable with allowing, you know, J.C. Tretter to go and going with Nick Harris.
Yeah, not only that, but he's been working behind J.C. Tretter. He's working behind Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller. I mean, he's been working behind all of them. So I think it could be a good thing for him. I think it could be time. And I think he did a great job in the Green Bay game last year. He did have times where he came in and had to perform. So I think Nick Harris can be a really good center. And I think as long as he and Deshaun have chemistry and they will work it out, you know, they will have time to get it where they want it. And maybe they already have. But I have no qualms about Nick Harris at the center position. I think he'll be just fine.
So before we go to break, let me ask you this. Did you get a sense of Deshaun Watson kind of being the leader, and how did his teammates seem to respond to him, you know, out in Berea?
Yeah, Nick Chubb said it best. He's a natural leader. Guys gravitate towards him naturally. And again, just a very dissimilar style to Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, yes, guys gravitated towards him, but he was big and bold and brash, and that was Baker Mayfield's personality. And Deshaun is not that. Deshaun, you know, yes, has fun, laughing, smiling, but not loud, and just a guy that goes out there and enjoys himself and just tries to handle himself with that confidence, with that class, with that you know, that sense of poise that a quarterback needs. So yeah, definitely. It's like Nick Chubb said, it's natural. It's completely natural, and you can see it.
And the other thing is you got to be who you are. If you are a phony, the locker room spots you out in a heartbeat. That is one thing about a professional locker room. They can sniff out phonies better than anybody.
Yeah, and I think that there's this false narrative out there that Baker Mayfield is a phony. I disagree with that completely. Again, Baker Mayfield had not an act, but had a personality that can wear thin. If things aren't going well, it can wear thin, no doubt. But when things are going well and you're fighting, and that's a guy you want in battle with you. So I get it. I do. I get where Deshaun Watson can seem to be easier to work with because they haven't lost any games yet. They haven't. Again, it's exciting right now. So maybe they won't lose many games. That's what he's brought to do, to not lose many games. So I can see where, you know, Baker's attitude and personality can rub guys the wrong way. It makes sense when things aren't going well. But when things are going great, everybody loves Baker. So I don't think Baker Mayfield was necessarily the issue in terms of leadership. I think, yeah, there was some maturity to be had, but I still think with Deshaun Watson, with what we've seen off the field, there's plenty of maturity to be had there too. So different leadership styles, but the guys definitely enjoy Deshaun. And I think Deshaun, just again, the talent, that's the thing that stands out the most to me. Just the arm talent, the way the ball comes out. And with the quickness with which it comes out, it's a different level.
Yeah, and I'm with you. You know, winning cures everything, and losing creates a lot of problems that aren't there when you're winning. Hayden Grove and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we continue talking Browns. Greg Newsome getting some action at the slot cornerback. We'll talk about that when Sports4CLE returns. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. So let's take a look. Dan Lobby, also from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com, tweets this out. They are seeing Greg Newsome working in the slot early in the 7-on-7 periods. Greedy Williams was the second outside corner with Denzel Ward. That will continue. Kevin Stefanski talked about why they decided to have Greg Newsome do that and how he fits.
Smart player, played in there a good bit for us last season. You got to be able intelligence is a premium when you're in there because you have to be able to fit the runs. You got to be able to pressure, play man, play zone. So he's a smart player. I think he's physically built to play inside or outside. So he's somebody that will continue to work in there.
And Hayden Grove, I don't know about you. I think you're on the same page. I was really impressed with Greg Newsome. I thought he played like a veteran. He did not play like a rookie, not even a little bit last year.
No, he was great, and I think that's exactly why you're seeing him in the slot. I mean, a team is only going to have so many good wide receivers. I mean, that's kind of the way it goes now. So why not put you see the league, the slot receivers are kind of the better ones these days. It looks like, guys like Cooper Kupp who can play in the slot. I mean, that's going to be as important a position as any to cover. So I think Greg Newsome does fit there, and I think he fits there well. I think Emerson will be the third corner or fourth corner. Greedy Williams will have an opportunity. So it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And like they say, you can never have too many corners, never have too many good corners. I think Greg Newsome is just that.
Yeah, and I'm with you. The Browns have a number of them, and that's a position you want as many as you can have. Anthony Walker, we heard from a little bit earlier in the show. He talked about his second year with the Browns and what a difference it makes for him.
Going into that second year, like you said, confidence, knowledge of the game, knowledge of the system, being able to work well with the guys in the room and on the defense and stuff like that. So definitely feel more confident and more comfortable going into year two.
And when you look at that, Hayden, Anthony Walker was a guy that he got banged up early, and he probably didn't have the type of year that he wanted to a season ago.
Yeah, I think that Anthony Walker, a lot of people are down on Anthony Walker, and I think that that's a little short-sighted. I mean, I think Anthony Walker is a really good leader on that defense. I think he leads by example. I think he's a really good person, really good kid. And I think not only that, I think it's more so that, like, by the way, not a kid. I always say that, not a kid. He's probably about my age, but he is he's strong, he's fast. I mean, I would love a little more speed, but that's what you have JOK for. That's what you have other linebackers in the unit. Jacob Phillips has a little bit more speed. So I think Anthony Walker could have a better year this year. I think he's probably more comfortable. But I think he did a good job last year. I think he was solid. I don't think he's going to be a Pro Bowler, but he's a guy that can anchor your defense and be a really good piece.
Yeah, and he's a guy that the defensive guys seem to gravitate towards. All right, before we let you go, we're going to head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about Baker Mayfield.
Hey, Dave, I got a question for you. Now that Deshaun Watson is in the hot seat with the NFL and probably going to be on suspension, and Cleveland Browns are willing to eat his $20 million or most of it, where do you think the most likely place for Baker is to land, seeing as he's meeting with Seattle this week? So let me hear your thoughts on that. Thanks.
And as always, we appreciate all of the voicemails. Hayden, you and I both think the guy can play. What are your thoughts? Where do you think Baker ends up?
I know he can play. And that's last year was just awful for him for so many reasons. It was awful for the Browns for a lot of reasons. So I know he can play. I know he's going to land on his feet. Carolina still is a place that everybody else seems to think that is a great fit for him. I don't. I think it's a terrible fit for him. They have a lame duck coach. They have no weapons outside of Christian McCaffrey. It makes little sense to me why they would trade for him. Seattle, kind of a similar situation, but you have maybe Pete Carroll does come back. I don't want him to go there either. The New York Giants, I think, is the best option for Baker Mayfield at this point, because I think the New York Giants, at least he can compete with Daniel Jones. He has a new coach in Brian Dable who I think would fit him very, very well. And again, you have some weapons. You know, maybe Saquon Barkley's not always going to stay healthy, but you have at least some semblance of weapons there. So I think the Giants is a good fit. I think backing up Tom Brady in Tampa would be a good fit. And then I think there's another team that was on the top of my head that I really would have liked to have seen him. I mean, Pittsburgh would have been okay, but, you know, now they have picked him, they'll probably go that direction. Oh, the Miami Dolphins. I mean, I still think he's better than Tua. I do. I think he's a better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa. And I think his arm strength would be really, really great with the amount of speed that they have in that team. So those would be my places for Baker Mayfield.
Hayden Grove, as always, thanks so much for the time and the insight. Appreciate it. Thanks, Hayden.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You too. Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. Make sure you read them. That's going to do it. We're all out of time on this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Scheduled guests Quincy Carrier, as well as Eddie McDonald from Dog Pound Daily, tomorrow at 4 here on Sports for CLE. We'll see you then. Have a great night, everybody.